We are live on the scene of a breaking homicide overnight in Beloit that has 2 others in the hospital, but no one in custody.
Communities across southern Wisconsin are bracing for bookings as the Democratic National Convention brings thousands of people to Milwaukee this summer.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning and welcome to News 3 Now this morning. It is 6 o'clock now on this Tuesday, March 12th. And just saying the word summer makes me smile.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. We just heard from Hattie. It's been almost a month since we saw 40 degrees.
Oof. Yeah. Valentine's Day, we hit a high of 41, and we have not been back above the 40-degree point since then.
It's unbelievable.
I know. And it's not like 40 is a huge milestone, but this year it feels like it.
No kidding. Yeah.
We are headed into the 40s again. Or I shouldn't say again, we're finally today. Normal high, though, is 41. 44 is our forecast high this afternoon. We are currently quite chilly, though. Temperatures are down in the teens, 16 degrees. Sunrise after 7 o'clock, of course, right around 7:15. Sunset for the first time today, 7 p.m., and it'll stay after 7 o'clock until September 20th. Here's a look at weather track. No clouds in the area, so once the sun finally decides to come up, we will definitely have a great sunrise. Oh, now temperatures are dropping. We're down to 15, so haven't found the bottom just yet. 14 in the Dells, 7 in Camp Douglas. It drops to 2 degrees below zero in Black River Falls. So it is a cold start to the day, but a nice warm-up is expected. Temperatures will be climbing into the mid-40s this afternoon. Now let's take a look at those traffic maps. Things are pretty quiet weather-wise, so nothing happening to slow you down due to the weather, but there are some brake lights right around Stoughton Road and the Beltline. That's pretty typical for this time of the day. I looked around the region, no accidents right now to report, so that is great news. Looks like you're still traveling at posted speeds as you head into Madison.
That is great news, especially considering the rain might make things a little sloppier here.
Yeah, I hope those windshield wipers are functioning properly later today, because you'll need them over the next couple of days.
All right. We'll check in with you soon. Thanks, Hats.
You're welcome.
6:02 your time now. Just into the Channel 3000 Alert Center overnight. Beloit police are still looking for a murder suspect after a shooting on the city's west side.
1 person died in that shooting. 2 are still in the hospital this morning. That includes a teenager. Let's check in with Josh Sprider now. He's been on the scene all morning talking to some neighbors about the situation as well. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. The crime scene tape remains this morning. This is where Beloit police found 1 person dead and 2 others injured after a shooting overnight. Officers were called to the area of Elm Street and Roosevelt Avenue just after 9:30. 1 person was dead when police arrived. 2 others, a 15-year-old boy and a 25-year-old man, were taken to a Janesville hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators were on the scene for most of the night, and that's where we found neighbor Jessica Bradley this morning. She's still shaken, but was happy to see police and emergency crews on the scene so quickly after it happened.
It was incredible. So many police officers were here. Detectives walking up and down the street. I'm hoping that it will stay a quiet neighborhood. But for the most part, yeah, it was a little scary.
Investigators believe everyone involved knew each other. Police say there are still no suspects in custody this morning in connection to the homicide. If you know anything, you are asked to call Beloit Police, and we expect a press conference later today where we expect to get some more updates on this story. In the meantime, you can stay with us right here on News 3 Now and Channel3000.com. Back to you.
All right, Josh Sprider reporting live for us this morning in Beloit. Thank you, Josh.
An Amber Alert for a missing 2-year-old from Milwaukee is still active this morning. Police are searching for Nolani Robinson on the left side of your screen there. They say the suspect is 33-year-old Darius Higgins. Police say he didn't drop off Nolani back at her mother's house last night as planned. He was last seen driving a 2014 black Cadillac SUV. Police say he is considered armed and dangerous.
Developing overnight, all of the remaining U.S. diplomats in Venezuela will return home from the embassy in Caracas this week. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo ordered that withdrawal late last night, citing the, quote, deteriorating situation in that country. Back in January, the State Department ordered all non-emergency government employees and non-essential employees there to leave Venezuela. The crisis in that country is only getting worse. This will mark the 6th day for a nationwide power failure. President Nicolas Maduro continues to refuse international pressure to step down from his position and is blaming the outage on an American cyber attack.
House Democrats are working on a new spending plan after the president's $4.7 trillion budget was declared dead on arrival yesterday. That included a 5% boost in defense spending, $8.6 billion for a border wall, and some big cuts to education and EPA funding. Now that Democrats have the majority in the House, this will be an opportunity for them to define the party's vision when it comes to things like health care, climate change, and taxes. However, with Republicans in control of the Senate, it may be impossible to work out some of those differences. Politicians from both major parties are celebrating the decision to hold the Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee this July.
This was big news yesterday, continues to be for the next few months. Milwaukee beat out Houston and Miami to become one of the smallest cities to ever host a presidential convention. You can see some of the Democratic leaders here in the state prosting to that decision. This event will largely happen at the Fiserv Forum, a project that was actually championed by former Republican Governor Scott Walker. Milwaukee lobbied hard to bring the event and the money that comes with it to Wisconsin, but some are still questioning whether there are enough resources in the area to accommodate tens of thousands of visitors.
Our threshold question was, did the city have the resources to carry out the mission? And we believe that every city had the resources. They would do it differently, but they can do it equally effectively. And in the end of the day, I'm firmly of the belief that this city can and will carry it out very well.
DNC officials say the fact that Milwaukee and Wisconsin are more working class areas played a major role in the decision to bring the convention and the candidates here.
The potential economic impact of that convention extends beyond Milwaukee. Smaller communities across the state are hoping visitors will make stops in their areas. The executive director of the Jefferson County Economic Development Corporation sent an email to their towns and cities to tell them to start preparing. One of those is the city of Watertown, where the mayor says they're excited for what the 2020 convention could mean, even for their community.
Obviously, I think it'll be a great thing for Milwaukee, but it's going to have residual effects for probably 60, 70 miles out, really.
Mayor John David says the timing of the convention works out nicely for the city, which is currently undergoing some revitalization efforts. Back here in Madison, hotels are already 95% booked during the dates of the DNC. Staff at Destination Madison predict hundreds of thousands of dollars will flow into our economy from it. Hotels have already blocked out rooms for 2 weeks to accommodate the thousands of people they expect.
The convention will be held from July 13th to the 16th. Now, Republicans will host their national convention more than a month later in Charlotte, North Carolina. News 3 Now will continue to cover the latest developments with these conventions, and we will, of course, have full coverage of those events coming up this summer. Staying with politics, we are exactly 3 weeks away from the spring elections here in Wisconsin, and if you don't feel like waiting in line on Election Day, you can cast your ballot early. Early voting is on in Madison this week at the city clerk's office, and then starting next Monday, it will happen at all the city's public libraries and over at Madison College. Here in the city, voters can look forward to the mayor's race between current Mayor Paul Soglin and challenger Satya Rhodes Conway. Every city alder seat is also up for election. 11 of the 20 races are contested. Statewide voters will also choose between Brian Hagedorn and Lisa Neubauer to see who will become the next state Supreme Court justice.
6:08 your time now. More than 9.6 billion children are living in poverty here in the U.S. Up next, we're talking with a UW professor about plans to dramatically decrease those numbers over the next decade.
That's right. And our crew says, bring on the heat wave. We are finally feeling a little more like March, but Hattie says you will need that raincoat and the boots handy for the rest of the week. Her first alert forecast is next on News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning from the patio. Another cold start this morning, but tomorrow morning it'll be about 20 degrees warmer. The warm starts today. Take a look at the snow depth across the area. Almost the entire state is covered by snow this morning, and a lot of snow across Minnesota. We're talking about snow depths over a foot in many locations. And that really is having an impact on our temperatures. High temperatures yesterday under that or above that snowpack in the 30s and 20s. So still pretty chilly for this time of the day. You get down to Des Moines and Moline and Chicago though, and temperatures quickly climbed into the 40s. Now today with a southerly wind and that lack of snowpack to the south, I think temperatures are going to bump up even a little bit higher here in southern Wisconsin. We should be able to climb above 40 degrees today. Nothing showing up on the radar map around here, but we're watching some moisture to the south that will continue to lift northward through the day today. So there is some rain in the forecast by tonight. Flood watches are in effect for many places. All of western Wisconsin, all of southern Minnesota, and most of Iowa due to the snowmelt and the upcoming rain that we're expecting from this next storm system. Now the rain arrives this evening and moves across the entire state overnight. You can see that even in the Northwoods, temperatures will be warm enough for rain tonight. Now on Wednesday, there may be a few breaks through the middle of the day, but rain is expected to return as a strong storm system moves into the region. That rain snow line well back to our north and west in northern Minnesota, so it's all rain for the Badger State. By the time it gets cold enough for some snow, most of the moisture, though, from this storm system is already to the east, so we're not looking at much snow on the backside on Friday. There will be a lot of rain, though, half an inch to an inch. The models have been pretty consistent forecasting that much rain, and that is on top of the snow that will be melting, so there could be some issues with river levels rising above flood stage. Now, temperatures in the region are cold in the Northwoods, single digits there. We have teens here in Madison. Some temperatures, though, still in the 20s along the far southern tier of the state. 23 in Janesville, Mineral Point's 25, but it's only 14 in the Dells and just 7 in Camp Douglas. Not much of a wind to factor in this morning. There is a light wind from the south, and that will cause temperatures to warm quickly today. We will already be in the mid-30s by lunchtime. Look for an increase in the clouds from the west this afternoon, with some rain moving in after 4 p.m. That rain then continues during the overnight hours. Temperatures stay in the upper 30s overnight. Here's a look at your extended forecast. We are headed into the 50s and even upper 50s on Thursday. That'll be the warmest day. It will be windy with rain expected through the day, turning colder for the upcoming weekend. But unlike the last month or so, it looks like the weekend forecast actually looks pretty nice. Should be pretty good for travel around the area. And speaking of travel, let's get an update on our traffic maps this morning with Josh Tim. Good morning, Josh.
Yeah, good morning. Another quiet start on the Beltline. No major crashes or delays to slow you down, but there is a broken down vehicle heading westbound on the right-hand shoulder just after the Monona Drive exit. You just definitely keep an eye out for that. Other roads here in Dane County not looking too bad, though. Just some of the usual slowdowns beginning to show up on Stoughton Road near the Beltline ramps. No delays downtown on campus. Plan on things picking up over the next hour or so. And other main routes are moving at the usual speeds with no major crashes or issues. With your First Alert Traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh. And of course, thank you, Hattie. So about 1 in every 10 children here in the U.S. live in a household that's below the poverty line.
A group of researchers say they have a plan, though, to cut that number in half by 2029. UW Professor of Economics and Public Affairs, Professor Timothy Smeating, is one of the researchers who worked on that congressionally mandated study. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So, I mean, cutting that number in half, that's a pretty big goal, isn't it?
It's a goal, but it's a goal that's been accomplished by Britain, by Canada, and other countries, because if you make it a priority, you can do this. The question is, can we make this a priority? Can we make children a priority?
And how do you plan on making it a priority?
Well, first of all, we pointed out the cost to the country of child poverty, which is almost $1 trillion a year.
Wow.
Lost productivity, more likely to end up incarcerated, not finish school, and be less productive and less healthy, which is a drain and a drag on the rest of the economy.
Why focus on children and not adults, do you think? Why is that the place to go?
Children, first of all, I think we judge countries by the way they treat their children. And children have the biggest risk, bear the biggest risk of any group because they can't choose their parents. And if you end up in a situation in a household that's not as strong, where parents not as educated, disabled, less able to work, and so forth, it makes it much harder for a child to grow up and to thrive.
We're talking about child poverty across the country, obviously, but could you give us a snapshot of what it looks like here in Wisconsin?
In Wisconsin, according to the Wisconsin Poverty Report, which we do every year, about 10% of kids, 11% of kids are poor, so we're not too far from the national average. But we have big pockets. We have small pocket in some parts of Dane County, in minority areas, and particularly Milwaukee, and particularly among African American kids in Milwaukee, which is a real disaster.
And we were talking during the commercial break about how there are lots of local efforts to try and fight that number, but we really need help from the federal government. Is that right?
There's a context in which you try and do what you can do. So we do what we can do for housing and helping kids through school and closing disparities and gaps and so forth. But it helps if parents have some support, if they can find good child care that's subsidized, if they can be able to work more in the market, but then that they also need some sort of a safety net in case everything falls apart, the car breaks down, it snows, you get laid off, the boyfriend goes to jail, all sorts of things can happen, and that leaves families and kids at risk, and we want to get rid of the, at least minimize or have that risk.
We have about 30 seconds left, and just going back to this larger study throughout the entire country, your expertise is in economy, but you got to work with people in all kind of walks of this research and everything that impacts what we're talking about here.
We had developmental psychologists, pediatricians, a whole number of people who understand various aspects of child life and how children develop and what's healthy for them and so forth. So we put this together. It was we worked really hard for 2 years to get this done. It was completely reviewed by a large panel. And so we're proud and happy to have at least made this statement. It's there. Now we need somebody to pick up and run with it. That's really what we need.
All right, fascinating topic. You can come to the campus tonight for more details on this research. Professor Smeating, so thank you so much for joining us this morning to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right, your time right now, 6:19, and with the rain and warmer temperatures in the forecast, flooding is a real possibility. Chris Reese is preparing us for the here you go again moments that could be coming. When News 3 Now This Morning continues.
Cobra
Good morning from the News 3 Now First Alert Weather Center. It's a little bit colder this morning. Here you can see the numbers. We're about 5 to 10 degrees colder this morning than we were this time yesterday. But a nice warm up is in the forecast. 15 is where we sit here in Madison and the Dells, 23 in Janesville, 25 in Mineral Point. Temperatures are in the single digits though as you get into central Wisconsin. Your bus stop weather forecast, you'll still want the layers this morning, but I think you'll be able to take a few of them off this afternoon with high temperatures actually climbing above the 40-degree point for the first time in almost a month. We do have warmer temperatures in the forecast then as we head through the rest of the week.
All right, thank you so much, Hattie. So all that rain Hattie's talking about over the next couple of days, they could lead to some serious flooding problems for communities in our area.
Yeah, we wanted to know just how serious those issues might be. Let's turn it over to meteorologist Chris Reese to talk more about that threat this morning. Chris, what are you thinking here?
Well, the outlook is out, and oddly enough, there are a lot of spots that are going to be dealing with major flooding at some point as we go through the spring that is before us or coming up. So all of these dots that you see right now are all different river flood gauges, and they are color-coded based on where they are expected to crest at some point throughout spring. And there's a lot of purple. Each purple dot is a river flood gauge that is expected to crest somewhere in major flood stage as we go throughout the winter. So let's zoom in on the part of Wisconsin that we live in. Around the Madison area, none of those flood gauges are actually expected to reach the major flood stages. But around the Dells, we could see some major flood stage showing up as we go throughout the spring. And then especially along that Mississippi River Valley, those are the areas that are going to be at greatest risk for major flooding as we go through spring. And really, that's the entire upper Midwest. Look at all the dots that you see in the red and purple. That is moderate to major flooding that is forecast as we go through the next 3 months. And all of that shapes up with where we actually do see a lot of our flood watches in play right now for the storm that is coming into the picture this week. That does include most of western Wisconsin. A lot of these areas, folks, as we go through the next couple of days, could see upwards of an inch or so of water on a very frozen ground. That water's not going to have anywhere to go but into the rivers that are jammed with a lot of ice. And so that's why I do think we will run the potential of seeing some strong flooding issues there. But here's the deal. Once we get through this week, oddly enough, the next 6 to 10 days do look drier than normal for a lot of the country. Same through the next 8 to 14 days as well. The problem is, even if we are drier, the next 8 to 14 days will likely feature temperatures that are above average. So anything that's frozen is going to be melting, and if water's not falling from the sky, it's still going to be flowing into those rivers. So we are going to be dealing with high water on a lot of the rivers for the next several weeks or a couple of months.
Yeah, here we go again, it seems like. Just be ready for it.
We went from flooding to snow and back.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
So first responders across Dane County are getting a cool new resource to help them keep people with dementia at ease during emergencies.
And UW schools are using hard data to plan ahead for a more diverse student body in the future. We'll tell you how the technology is already helping one campus retain more students of color. That's next on News 3 Now this morning. The new equipment for Dane County first responders isn't anything shiny or expensive, but soft, colorful, and comforting. We'll tell you how that could help in an emergency.
Breaking overnight, one person is dead and 2 others are injured after an overnight shooting. I'm Josh Bruder live in Beloit with Neighborhood Reaction this morning.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning and welcome to the final half hour of News 3 Now this morning, 6:29 on this Tuesday, March 12th. We will get that update from Josh in just a moment. First, though, warmer temperatures.
Hattie told us this is the first time we're going to be above 40 in almost a month, believe it or not. Hattie, how's it feeling right now out there?
It's cold right now. Temperatures are still in the teens, but a nice warm up is expected. You're right, we haven't been above 40 degrees since Valentine's Day, so almost a month. Here's a live look from the WISC-TV sky cam. Skies are clear, so it'll be a nice sunrise this morning. But because skies are clear, that's why it's so cold this morning. Weather track not showing you any cloud cover across the region, so we all wake to clear skies. Temperatures, though, are in the 20s right along the state line. Here in Madison, we're at 15. The Dells is 15 as well, but it drops into the single digits above and even below 0 in some spots as you head into central Wisconsin. So one more cold start to the day. Our temperatures will climb into the mid-40s, though, this afternoon, thanks to a southerly wind and some sunshine through the day. Look for an increase in the clouds late today and then rain coming tonight. Your first alert traffic maps, though, with quiet weather conditions. We're not seeing any major delays right now. Doesn't look like anything's happening to slow you down too much as you head into Madison. Those driving times and speeds still look normal for this time of the day.
Boy, Hattie, mid-40s. I am so excited.
I know. It's really sad that we're so excited about that, but it's been a while.
I'll take it, though. All right. Thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
We start this half hour with an investigation in Beloit. One person is dead. 2 others are being treated for gunshot wounds.
Our Josh Brighter is live on the scene this morning with what we know so far. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Investigators just left the scene not too long ago, and actually the homeowner where the scene happened right in front of just took the crime scene tape down, and he declined to comment for us. But Beloit police still have no suspects in custody in related to that homicide overnight. Here's some video from that scene that we shot earlier. Police received reports of that shooting around 9:30 last night near the area of Elm Street and Roosevelt Avenue. That's where officers found one person dead. 2 others, a 15-year-old boy and 25-year-old man, were taken to a Janesville hospital with injuries that are not life-threatening. Police say it appears everyone knew each other and believe it was a targeted act. Still, though, neighbors we spoke to are on edge. It happened in their neighborhood.
It was scary because Elm is a really quiet street. I mean, for the most part, it's elderly and, you know, very, very quiet, not a lot of kids. So the fact that there was a shooting here is incredible. I mean, you would never expect this.
You just heard from Jessica Bradley. She later found out a bullet hit her home as investigators had to dig it out of the siding. She says police were quickly on scene and felt safe once they arrived. Bradley says there were actually shell casings all across the street, so she believes it might have started elsewhere and ended here. Of course, we will learn more during a press conference with Beloit Police later this morning. You can stick with News 3 Now and Channel3000.com for those updates as they become available. Back to you.
All right, Josh Barter reporting live from Beloit this morning. Josh, thank you very much.
Back in Madison, police are looking for a man they say robbed a West Side gas station with what looked like an AK-47. Police say it happened around 4 p.m. yesterday at the Kelly's Market on Watts Road. A man in his late 20s walked into that store wearing a yellow bandana and a ski mask, armed with a gun that resembled an AK-47. That man did get away with some cash. He is still missing this morning. Anyone with information is asked to call the Madison Area Crime Stoppers at that number right there on your screen. The manager of a Whitewater bakery is facing a felony charge this morning related to stealing more than $32,000 from the store. The Janesville Gazette reports 34-year-old Nicole Baker had been pocketing deposits from the Sweet Spot Bakehouse since last January. The owner told police those missing deposits were from days that Baker had opened the store, and surveillance video shows her putting a deposit bag under the counter. According to a criminal complaint, Baker told the owner she took that money because she needed it at first, but she kept taking more when she wasn't caught.
One of Wisconsin's congressmen says federal immigration officials intentionally failed to alert certain authorities before a significant raid here last fall. Nearly 6 months ago, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents arrested 83 people across the state. Congressman Mark Pocan filed a Freedom of Information Act request in October and finally received those documents late last month. Now, emails as early as August 2nd show ICE officials let some law enforcement agencies know about the operation happening in September. There is a handwritten note indicating those federal authorities touched base with Madison police and Dane County deputies. However, there are no emails to those departments. The records also show at least 39 of the 83 people arrested did not have a prior criminal record. Representative Pocan plans to file an appeal for more information within the next 90 days.
The University of Wisconsin system is expanding a predictive analytics program that's working to close the academic achievement gap. UW-Milwaukee, Platteville, Eau Claire, and Oshkosh already use the software to help track class attendance, financial status, and other factors that could impact student performance and graduation rates. Now the UW system is expanding it to 8 other schools. UW-Madison, not one of those at this point. Now, despite some improvements they've seen already, like an increase in first-year student retention rates at UW-Milwaukee, the UW system says more still needs to be done. Between 2001 and 2011, the system-wide graduation rate gap between black and white students actually increased from 29.6% to 32.6%. First responders across the state will be able to better serve people with dementia thanks to a new piece of equipment in ambulances and squad cars.
That's right. These are called sensory bags, and they're filled with items that can help someone with memory issues stay busy and calm in an emergency. It includes things like stuffed animals, dolls, and squishy balls. 60 bags have been assembled so far to be delivered to first responders across Dane County. Sun Prairie's fire department first got theirs about 2 weeks ago, and EMS Chief Brian Goff says they have already helped adapt to patient needs.
If you were to experience an ambulance ride, we could talk about it and you could tell me how you're feeling and what the challenges are, and we could work specifically to make that better for you. But with a person who's not able necessarily to convey those types of complex thoughts and ideas, it makes it difficult. And so having a tool like this is beneficial for us because it helps us to bridge that gap.
Middleton first responders will get training, or are going through training that is right now, and other departments across the county will receive their sensory bags soon. Dane County was able to purchase these thanks to a grant from the Aging and Disability Resource Center.
All right, 6:36 your time now. If you've ever stood outside Camp Randall Stadium and thought how ugly the giant statue of a pile of footballs is, well, we may have some good news ahead for you. That's coming up in the morning sprint.
And with temperatures back in the 40s for the first time in a month, you've probably been thinking a lot about ways to get the kids outside. We will tell you how you can help improve a state park in our area when News 3 Now this morning returns.
Welcome back. You're taking a live look at that gorgeous sunrise coming up on the west side of Madison. Take it in now, folks, because as the day goes on, clouds are going to move in. Rain's going to start just in time for your evening commute. Hattie's going to have the details on that coming up in just a little bit. Now, speaking of gorgeous sunrises, here's a shot from Mark Alt's front porch. I love this picture.
Nice.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous with the sunrise and the flag in the picture. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
A lot going on there, most definitely.
Yeah, there is. Thanks for sharing. Mark, what does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it on Facebook or on Twitter, and use the hashtag MyNews3Morning so Danica and I can find and share them right here on the program. All right, if you take the family out to Blue Mound State Park, you can have a say in future plans for the park. The DNR is hosting a public input session tonight as they work on developing a new master plan for the first time in 35 years. After gathering data for the past year, the DNR now wants to hear what you think should be included in this new plan. The meeting starts at 5 tonight at Mount Horeb Middle School.
State lawmakers are trying to support the arts here in Wisconsin with a new grant program that they'll be talking about later today. That program would work with the Department of Tourism to award money to businesses that promote art or art education. Those companies would get up to $40,000 to help create more jobs, train their employees, and expand their business. You can weigh in on those so-called Creative Economic Development grants at a public meeting at the Capitol that starts at 12:30 today.
The DOT says drivers going through Janesville are about to see a dramatic change along a 3-mile stretch of I-90 this spring. The department told the Janesville Gazette by April you can expect to see a lot of digging on the city's north side to match bridge elevations at Highway 14 and 26 interchanges. A spokesperson told the Gazette the project will actually make it look like crews are building hills on the side of the interstate. Detours and closures for that project will start up next month.
All right, we are trying to not let the forecast rain on our parade. Hattie expects showers to start this evening, and temperatures are going to be back in the 40s today for the first time in a month. Then we're heading into the 50s tomorrow. A nice sunrise before the clouds move in later on today. Your first alert forecast is coming up.
But first, it's March 12th. We want to say happy birthday to Odin, Isley, Owen, and all of the kiddos turning 3 today. Thanks so much for celebrating with us here on News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning. A cold start this morning, but we are off to warmer temperatures this afternoon. Also kind of a milestone for the day. Our sunset tonight, actually 7 p.m. Now, we haven't had a sunset after 7 o'clock in about 6 months, and we'll stay later than 7 p.m. until September 20th. So nice stretch through the summer with those longer days. It still looks and feels like winter outside, though, even though that sunset is getting later every day. Take a look at the snow depth. Snow covers pretty much the entire state, maybe the extreme southeastern corner clear right now, but the rest of us have some snow on the ground. And as you look back towards Minnesota, quite a bit of snow on the ground. Those pink shaded colors indicating anywhere from 12 to 24 inches of snow on the ground. So we have a lot of snow to melt, and a lot of that is going to occur over the next couple of days. Because of the warming temperatures and the rain in the forecast, that combined with the the snow melt has prompted flood watches for much of Minnesota, all of western Wisconsin, and much of Iowa as we go through this week through Thursday. Here's a look at GFS Future Track forecast model. Starting at 6 p.m., you can see that rain spreading into western Wisconsin. South winds today, temperatures in the 40s even at 6 p.m. this evening. That rain pushes across the entire area. Temperatures will stay warm enough overnight for the entire state that we are expecting rain in the forecast. More rain through the day on Wednesday, maybe even hear some isolated rumbles of thunder. And even then on Thursday, that rain snow line still well back to our north and west. So rain in the forecast on Thursday. Highs will be well into the 50s on Thursday. Now, by the time it gets cold enough for some snow, most of the precipitation will already be to our east. So the snow accumulation very minimal with this storm system. There will be a lot of rain, though. Still looking at a ½ inch to an inch of rain across parts of southern Wisconsin, maybe some slightly higher amounts to the north. Snow, as I mentioned, pretty minimal with this particular system. Nothing showing up on the radar map. No rain or snow around here this morning. Let's zoom out to the United States perspective, though, and show you that's pretty active in the southwest. Here's our main storm system that will move in on Wednesday. Out ahead of that, some moisture surging to the north. The first round of rain already on the map. That will continue to lift northward through the day today, arriving in our area tonight. But again, that main storm comes on Wednesday. A live look from the Edgewater Sky Cam. Beautiful sunrise underway. You can see the Capitol. No issues with fog this morning. Temperatures are showing quite a range across the region. 7 in Camp Douglas. Contrast that with 23 in Mineral Point as well as Monroe. So there's a big spread in temperatures. We're in between here in Madison at 15 degrees. Your Future Track forecast model takes temperatures from the teens this morning with the help of sunshine and a southerly wind. A pretty fast warm up already into the mid to upper 30s by lunchtime today. Clouds spread in this afternoon, and then after 4 p.m., that rain begins to move into southern Wisconsin. It'll be wet overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning, so likely some wet roads as you head to work tomorrow. The rain continues on and off through the day on Wednesday and even into Thursday, but it will be warmer. Highs in the 50s both days. We will cool down behind this system, but unlike the last several weekends, the forecast for this upcoming weekend looks quiet. St. Patrick's Day on Sunday, we're looking at a high 41 with partly sunny skies. That's near normal for this time of the year.
No.
Here's Jack in Lodi. What a pretty dog.
Beautiful.
Jack's gonna be a little muddy later today.
Just a little.
I was just gonna say all that white
fur.
hair begging for some mud.
Yeah, but it'll be a good day to play outside in the 40s.
All right, thank you, Hattie.
You're welcome.
The morning sprint's coming up next right here on News 3 Now this morning. 6:52, time for the morning sprint. Hattie says it will be warmer, but there are chances for rain starting later today.
But we start with Josh Breiter live on Beloit's West Side with an update on an overnight homicide. Josh?
Good morning. One person is dead and two others are in a Janesville hospital this morning after that overnight shooting. Beloit police still don't have any custody or any suspects in custody this morning. Officers were called to the area of Elm Street and Roosevelt Avenue just after 9:30 last night. One person was dead when police arrived. Two others, a 15-year-old boy and a 25-year-old man, were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators believe everyone involved knew each other, and if you know anything, you are asked to contact Beloit Police. We are expecting a press conference later today. Stay with News 3 Now and channel3000.com.
Thank you, Josh. An Amber Alert for a missing 2-year-old from Milwaukee is still active this morning. Police are searching for Nolani Robinson on the left side of your screen there. They say the suspect is 33-year-old Darius Higgins. Police say he didn't drop off Nolani back at her mother's house last night as planned. He was last seen driving a 2014 black Cadillac SUV. Police say he is armed and dangerous.
Obviously, I think it'll be a great thing for Milwaukee, but it's going to have residual effects for probably 60, 70 miles out, really.
Watertown Mayor John David is hoping those residual effects make it to his city after the Democratic National Convention announced it will be held in Milwaukee this summer. It will be one of the smallest cities to host a presidential convention. Most of that event will happen at the Fiserv Forum from July 13th to the 16th. Hotels in Madison are already 95% booked during those dates.
It's a cold start this morning. Temperatures in the single digits north of the Dells. Teens here in Madison, low 20s in southern Wisconsin. A nice quick warm up though through the morning hours. Temperatures already getting into the mid 30s by lunchtime today, but we don't stop there. We're headed to highs in the mid 40s this afternoon. An increase in the clouds later on today.
Thank you, Hattie. Australia is the latest country to join more than a dozen airlines and nations in grounding all Boeing 737 MAX 8 jets after this weekend's fatal crash in Ethiopia. Right now, there are more than 350 of those jets in service around the world. More than 70 of them are operating here in the U.S. under Southwest, American, and United Airlines. The FAA says there's not enough evidence right now to ground those flights on U.S. soil.
All of the remaining U.S. diplomats stationed in Venezuela will come back home this week. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo ordered that withdrawal late last night, citing the, quote, deteriorating situation in that country. This will mark the 6th day for a nationwide power failure. President Nicolas Maduro refuses to step down and blames that outage on an American cyber attack.
House Democrats are working on a new spending plan after the president's $4.7 trillion budget was declared dead on arrival yesterday. Now that Democrats have the majority in the House, this will be an opportunity for them to define the party's vision when it comes to things like health care, climate change, and taxes. However, with Republicans in control of the Senate, it might be impossible to work out some of those differences.
When we see them, it's typically in a moment of crisis, and anything that we can do to offer them something to help focus their attention and make that situation a little bit easier is of great interest and value to us.
First responders across Dane County will be able to better serve people with dementia using so-called sensory bags. Those bags are filled with stuffed animals, dolls, squishy balls, and other items to help keep a person with memory issues busy and calm during emergencies. Sunbury EMS is already using those bags, and 60 more are being handed out to other local departments.
Soccer fans in Madison will likely have a VIP option over at Breese-Stevens Field. The State Journal reports the city's Landmarks Commission unanimously approved plans to build field-level suite boxes at the historic stadium. Big Top Events, which operates Breese-Stevens, had to revamp their original proposal because it didn't match the stadium's character. The plans now go to the Urban Design Commission.
For all of you Badger football fans, the 50-foot statue of footballs piled up outside of Camp Randall might be coming down for good. According to the State Journal, UW-Madison is working on a plan to restore the historic field house and improve the plaza there. The early concept sketches do not include the landmark statue that's been standing tall since 2005. That sketch is set to be shared with the city's Joint Campus Committee tomorrow.
All right, almost 6:57 right now. Let's get one more check on traffic with Josh Tim. Hi, Josh.
Hi, good morning. Starting to pick up on the westbound Beltline, but really only one small patch of brake lights showing up near the Stoughton Road exit. Inbound John Olin, you're tapping the brakes at Rimrock and Olin Avenue. That's going to add a couple minutes heading into downtown. Northbound Verona Road already slowing down, approaching the Highway PD intersection. And other main routes are moving at the usual speeds right now with no major crashes or issues. For your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you, Josh.
And a live look outside from the WISC-TV Skycam. Skies are clear. Sun's coming up this morning. Sunrise officially happens at 7:15. Temperatures are in the teens right now, but we will climb to highs in the mid-40s this afternoon. An increase in the clouds and then rain becoming likely tonight. Rain and isolated thunderstorms are still in the forecast Wednesday and Thursday as well.
Loving that warm up, though.
Yes, 50s are in the forecast.
All right. Thank you, Hattie. And thanks so much for joining us for News 3 Now this morning. We'll see you here tomorrow.